But General Kimmitt, if you can start us off tonight with just your assessment of this military operation from the point of view of the United States over the first couple of nights.
Yeah, first of all, I think militarily it's been brilliant. Look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for John Bolton. I've known him for years and years, but I don't necessarily share his negative viewpoint about the president's strategy regarding regime change. The president never said it was going to be regime change. He said it was going to be regime decapitation. And then the answer after that is up to the Iranian people. Whether the Iranian people want to take over, whether the Iranian people want another regime, perhaps more moderate, it's really up to them. It's very much Venezuela 2.0. He's absolutely right. I was in a post-regime operation early on. We don't want to put American troops on the ground.
Okay, so Tracy, hang in there for a moment. Just to follow on that, General Kimmitt, so you think the president has, in your view, been clear in articulating that's his point of view and what he wants to happen, essentially Venezuela 2.0?
Yeah, it's not only Venezuela 2.0, it's Syria 2.0. In both cases, we have taken people that we didn't particularly like off the battle space, whether it was our assistance with Bashar al-Assad or Maduro. But we've left the government in place, and we now have two governments that we can work with. Let's hope the same thing can happen in Iran, whether it's done through a moderate takeover by the people or a more moderate regime 2.0.
Tracy, I did, like I said a few minutes ago, want to ask you about the intelligence, especially on the CIA's side, that went into this operation that ended up killing the supreme leader of Iran, among others, but especially the supreme leader. So apparently this was months and months where they knew and even adjusted the timing, right, of the attacks, because they knew he'd be in a meeting with top advisors, and Israel's planes went in and took him out, but it sounded like the U.S. intelligence had a lot to do with that.
Well, it's actually both the U.S. and Israel, in my opinion. I think both working together in terms of gathering that intelligence, which is rare. It's not to say we've never worked with Israel before. It's just on the rarer side. Because what I will say is, at CIA, the country that was the bane of my existence, that was extremely difficult to get human intelligence out of, was Iran. I used to call it a black hole because it's really how it operated. And so there is no way, in my opinion, that the CIA had a good network of human intelligence in Iran. However, I think their technical capabilities perhaps far exceeded Israel's technological capabilities, and Israel had made good inroads into those networks of the Iranian leadership. And I think those together over a period of time, over a period of prolonged surveillance, getting his pattern of life, understanding when these meetings were going to occur, all came together at the perfect time.
So you think a lot of it was digital, Tracy?
I think from the U.S. side, a lot of it was digital. And to General Kimmitt's point, Israel, one of the ways that they operate is those, I guess, decapitations, right? Cutting off the head of the snake, if you will. That is one thing that they're good at, quite frankly. And so I really think that this is sort of I agree with him, this is sort of their modus operandi. And so I think that Israel helped with the human side. We helped with the technological side.
Would you add anything to that, General Kimmitt? And I also wanted to speak a little bit about, where this goes, what comes next, how long you expect this to go on for. The president in his public comments has gone back and forth from saying, well, it could be a few days, and then made a comment earlier today that we always thought it might be about 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, first of all, I completely agree with Tracy. I've had a relationship with the Israelis for many, many years. They have developed over decades probably the most exquisite human system in any country in the world, and it's all in Iran. We're talking about ex-emigres that have come back. We could have an entire show on the human capability, the human intelligence capability of the Israelis. Look, I think what happens next, we're already seeing the Iranians reaching out and saying, let's talk. They're starting to feel the pressure. As a military officer, I'd say this is not the time to talk. And we've got them on the run. We are in what we call a pursuit operation while we continue to destroy the infrastructure, as you're showing on the screen right now. It's clear the leadership is starting to feel the heat. But this is absolutely the worst time to go back to negotiations, because the Iranians will think it's just last Thursday and it's going to be the next round of negotiations. if we are going to be successful and negotiate with the Iranians, our precondition must be that they give up their nuclear programs, diminish their ballistic missile supplies, and end their proxies arrangements around the region. You say there won't be anything left to negotiate after that. I disagree. Fact remains is they've got to get sanctions relief. They need tremendous help with their economy. They have a water crisis unparalleled in the world. So there's plenty to talk about, but we don't need to talk without a policy of no nukes, no missiles, no proxies. And we ought to continue the war until we have them at that position.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.